Coming to you from the Trumbull Insurance Agency virtual studio. Turn your stress and anxiety into peace and security with Trumbull Insurance. Contact Patrick Bankemper today for all your insurance needs at 540-532-0622. For the rest of our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. This is another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. It's week 18, and I am joined by the weapon, my co-host and lead contributor, Dan Demski. Dan, how are we?
Doing well, man. At the end of the regular season is come and gone. It's just crazy.
It's crazy. 18
what
weeks has come and gone. And the man with not one but two teams in the playoffs, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez.
And he will remind us of that.
Live, boys. Here we are. Let's go.
Hey, we are live. So, listen, so how this is going to go from now on, we're going to be live streaming our podcast episodes each and every week, but no need to fear. You can check this out on YouTube once it's on in its entirety, and it will be on all streaming platforms as well. So we're not going anywhere in terms of streaming platforms, but you have more ways to connect with us, so on and so forth. So glad to be with you all. It's going to be a jam-packed show. And I'll tell you what, I mean, the amount of games with the implications, I mean, week 18, I specified how great week 18 is. I enjoy it and how everything just falls into place. So, I mean, it was such a great week 18 as a whole. I mean, before
the first ever week 18. Got
the first ever.
Well.
Started it out with a bang.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So, initial thoughts before we get in. I'll start with you, Carlos. What'd you like about week 18? What'd you dislike?
I mean, I basically have to eat crow because last week I said that, the last week of the season usually sucks, but this week was absolute chaos. I mean, it was awesome. It was just a great weekend of football. Obviously, my Dallas Cowboys ending up with the 3 seed. My side piece, Kansas City, ending up with the 2 seed. I mean, it just a great weekend of football.
Yeah, he pretty much summed it up well. I think one thing I was happy about is that I was right. Okay, I picked the upset of the week. A lot of people didn't see it coming. Not many people saw it coming, I guess I should say. And also, like, most of the games were fairly close, and I think that was the fun thing too. We got to see a couple upsets. Obviously, we talked about the game I said with the Jags knocking off the Colts and knocking them out of the playoffs, but also the Lions get a nice win, even though Rodgers and the Packers were pretty much resting their starters for the most part. So, it was a really fun week 18, and a lot of teams. I mean, the AFC playoff picture was madness. It was madness all day. It was madness all the way till the last game. And I know we're going to get into all that, but I think that's what was most exciting.
Man,
insanity.
I think we have a clip of. Don't we have a clip of what Dan was referring to?
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I remember
script.
because you were talking about how you wanted Jacksonville to win. You called it, and here it is.
Let's go. We suck this year. Last week is never the best.
And, the way the schedules work out where a lot of the divisional games are piled onto the end, it's always like the best team versus the worst team. But I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. You ready for this? My upset pick of the week.
All right, I'm ready.
Jacksonville takes down the Colts. Mark it down. It's a foolish pick, but it's a pick, damn it. And that's going to get the Ravens into the playoffs.
I can't get behind that pick. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, Dan, it's not going to happen.
That's my foolish pick of the week. That's why I said it.
Don't hate the game. A boy can dream. A boy can dream, I guess.
Shit.
Carlos thought it wasn't going to
So the
happen.
second part of that pick was wrong.
Little
The Ravens
boys
did not
can
make the
dream.
playoffs. Did not make the playoffs. That's okay. But I'll take it. Hey, one out of 2 ain't bad. So
Hey man, a win is a win. Okay, you got the dub there. You ate me. Whoa. You made me eat my words because I was like, I can't get behind that. I thought I really couldn't. I didn't foresee that happening, and yet
you know what?
Dan
had a
Stradamus over
Carson
here.
Wentz. It had a Carson Wentz type of feel for me.
You know what?
Wentz is, he shows
And
it
that's
time
what
and
I
time again.
didn't factor in is Carson Wentz.
Value.
It was Carson Wentz.
That was it.
I
Gentlemen,
can't wait till we talk about that game. That's gonna be so much fun to rip into him.
Absolutely.
gentlemen, I think it's time we roll through these games because I'm itching to talk some more football. Are we?
I'm itching right now, boys. Let's go.
Let's
I
go.
got a fever, and the only thing that'll help it is some more football.
Yes. Amen to that. Starting off, we have a very strict rundown that we are sticking with. So first and foremost, there was Saturday and Sunday slate of games. Starting off, the Chiefs and the Broncos. Carlos, your Chiefs. It looked pretty.
Hold on, Kirby. Are we not going to do it? Are we not going to do it?
Let's do it.
Okay, ready? And the home of the Chiefs.
All right, I did it too. You're welcome.
Well,
it's a win.
It's a win. I mean, the Broncos looked on a different level. Drew Lock
Scrappy,
ran in for 2 touchdowns. I'm like, are the Chiefs really going to fall? Like, not that it really mattered, but still, they could have dropped down to like a 5 seed, if I remember correctly.
No. Because they had already won. They could have dropped to only like a 4.
Oh,
they had already won the West.
4. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So your thoughts on that game, being the side piece Chiefs fan that you are?
No, not much. I mean, there's not really a lot to say. They got the win. They needed the win to still be in contention for the one seed. We needed Tennessee to lose, and then, but defensively, that was the turning point. Was getting that fumble, that fumble, and then taking it all the way back. That was the turning point of the game, and that's ultimately how the Chiefs won. Offensively, looked a little rough. Tyreek obviously was kind of hurt, but other guys stepped up, and that's all that matters. And really, the Chiefs are still they're still the team you don't want to face in the playoffs, especially coming to Arrowhead. It's going to be tough to beat these guys.
All right, Dan, any thoughts?
No. Listen. Great teams find a way to win, even if it's a little ugly sometimes and it's not as lopsided as you expect. And that's a divisional game. So, hats off to the Chiefs for pulling it out. I don't have any concerns with them. They got to get a little more healthy, and that's the key for all these teams. So that's really all I have. I think Carlos covered it well.
All right, the next game on Saturday, Carlos's Cowboys beating up on division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. Not much to talk about here. Eagles playing safe and conservative, and the Dallas Cowboys looking to make it as high of a seed as they can.
Yeah, we needed. I mean, it was a debate all week as to whether we should start our starters, should we rest our starters. The question, obviously coming off our Arizona loss, it was a little demoralizing. Dallas didn't look great offensively until the last quarter. They didn't get anything going. So going into this game, they needed some momentum going, and that's really why they kept the starters, or they played most of the starters. Not everybody started, of course. We were missing some guys due to COVID, illness, or resting some injuries. Dallas did this against pretty much the backup crew in Philly, so I don't really put a lot of stock into this win. Yes, we swept the division. We went 6-0 against everybody, but and we did blow out their starters earlier in the season. Subtle brag, and we did beat theirs. It's not as if we did beat Philly. We blew them out earlier in the season, so we know we're better than Philly. For sure. But yeah, good momentum win, I guess, but it was a very risky win because somebody could have gotten seriously hurt and it would have affected the playoffs. Luckily, everybody pretty much came out scot-free, and ultimately it worked out for us by getting that win.
Yeah, I kind of think a little bit of both is fine. Like put your starters out there, but don't have them out there the whole game because you want to keep them fresh, but you also want to make sure that they're they haven't gone to that playing football for too long. Essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Because like when teams rest starters, who for example have locked up a first round bye, they tend to be decently rusty a good amount of the time. So with Dallas, they definitely took a risk with going with most of their starters for most of the game, especially Dak. But Dak was just on fire. I mean, only 6 incomplete passes, 5 touchdowns. This was a game for Dallas to sort of flex their muscle and show that, that they really shouldn't be doubted going into the playoffs. And I don't think they are. And there's still the lack of a running game we talked about every week with Dallas, and the lack of consistency there that kind of showed a little bit in this game as well. But I think Dallas will be fine, and this is the most confident I've been in the Cowboys going into the postseason that I can recall in quite a while.
All I really have to say is I agree with Carlos in the fact of the matter is Dallas had the playoffs locked up and you could have gotten somebody seriously injured. Thank God none of that happened, but still that's something you always have to keep into consideration in looking at Jalen Hurts. They were erring on the side of caution to make sure he's as healthy as he can be going into this wild card matchup this upcoming weekend.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much else to say.
Yeah, and Philly, they're not going to get far, but they could pull off a wild card win, but I don't know how much further they're going to get. We'll talk about that later.
I mean, they're playing. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
All right. Next game, the Lions beating the Packers. I was kind of surprised that Aaron Rodgers was in this game for any portion. Goes to show how bad Jordan Love is with the Lions getting their third win of the season against the Packers. But I guess that's just me. 37-30 in that contest.
Well, I don't really think it shows how bad he is. I think it shows that he hasn't played at all. I mean, Rodgers has played pretty much every game for them.
Aside from the Kansas City game when he was out with COVID.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. So Jordan Love doesn't have any reps. So you can't expect him to really come out there and look like Aaron Rodgers 2.0 because let's face it, he's not going to be that anyway. So yeah, the Lions are a scrappy team, and they played a ton of close games this year. And I know we crapped on the Lions a lot. I crapped on Dan Campbell a lot just because I don't really consider him an NFL quality coach. But Jared Goff looked good in this game, and the Lions, I don't know. They're an odd team to me. I just can't seem to figure them out. I know they only won 3 games this year, but they had a ton of close games. And they were right there in several games. I mean, look at the Baltimore game. They literally had that game won. And then Justin Tucker was like, or the game. Yeah, they did have the game won. Justin Tucker said not so fast. So, nice win for the Lions. Nice confidence builder going into next year. The Packers, I mean, they just rested. They had nothing to play for. So
yeah, Aaron Rodgers pretty much just went out just to get some reps in because he knows that they have this week off. So he doesn't want to. He just wants to keep some momentum going. Because you don't want to. I mean, 2 weeks off. That's a lot. And yeah, sure you can get healthy, but it'll make you. You can come back really rusty. So definitely wanted to get just a couple reps in. He obviously wasn't going to play the whole game, but yeah, that's all. That's really it. There's not really too much. The Packers locked up the 1 seed last week, so that it was more just a momentum type of game where they were just and getting like Bakhtiari back. They're going to get some guys healthy. They want to get back to Bakhtiari. Geez. Just some reps also because he's been out for pretty much the whole season. So, yeah, I mean, I also don't put this loss on Jordan Love either. I think it's just he's just inexperienced.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving on to the next game. The Browns with Case Keenum, Baker Mayfield not playing in this game, and they beat the Bengals 21-16.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow also resting in this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to say here. Obviously, the Bengals being the AFC North champs, a little rough going into the playoffs, but they did rest Joe Burrow.
They'll be fine.
And yeah, they're going to be okay. I think it was the right move to rest Joe Burrow, considering how he ended the Kansas City game. He was visibly hurt. So it was a smart move to rest him. I think this isn't going to hurt their momentum really at all, but still was worth mentioning, and also mentioning the fact that this was supposed to be where the Browns were supposed to be up there competing for a playoff spot, and here they are, pretty much playing for nothing. So that's all I got for this game.
Yeah, I totally agree with Carlos. I think it was a good move for Cincinnati to sit Joe Burrow. I mean, think about his history. I mean, think about his injury last year. So, and not just that, just all the times this year he's gotten beaten around in games and late in games, especially where they've continued to throw the football questionably in a lot of cases. So I think that was the right move. And Case Keenum, maybe this is what the Browns should have done earlier in the season with Baker Mayfield battling all those injuries and still trotting out there and really being probably a third of the quarterback he was before as far as his ability. So, I mean, that's kind of what I gather, even though Case Keenum didn't have the greatest stat line, but he played decently well. Yeah, this game doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So, it was a classic AFC North matchup, but with a lot of players just taking it easy, resting, especially on Cincinnati's side.
All right. Before we move any further in talk about how the Jaguars made Week 18 interesting, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you about Regroup Building Services. If you're looking to get your home remodeled, any part of your home, bathroom, kitchen, want to get a deck built, anything like that, Regroup Building Services can just about do everything. And take it from me, because they came in and they remodeled my family's kitchen, and they do a great job. So if you're looking for any sort of home remodeling needs, deck work done, anything of that nature, reach out to my guy Sean Hibbard over at Regroup Building Services today. You can check them out on their website, www.regroupbuildingservices.com, where they do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you.
Whoa, what happened?
Oh my gosh, he switched jerseys. Holy
Whoa,
cow.
what happened?
Oh my gosh.
What happened?
Oh my gosh. Wow. What a magic trick that was. Welcome back. I'm here with the
Take him on.
Demski and Carlos Martinez. We're gonna talk about our first game that had a lot of playoff implications, made things very interesting this week. Before we do, make sure you leave comments, ask us questions.
Yeah, please do. I was about to say that
as well throughout the show. But
be a part of the show. Be a part of the show. We want you to be a part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Jaguars beat the Colts 26-11. And preventing the Colts from getting into the playoffs. This was a game that a lot of people thought the Colts were going to win, but they kept the ball in Carson Wentz's hands, and they relied too much on him. Didn't spread the ball out, in my opinion, and I think that's what cost them the game. But this made things very, very interesting with the Jaguars winning.
Yeah, the self-imploding mistakes. I mean, you look at 2 turnovers to none. Obviously, the Colts had the 2 turnovers. They went for it on 4th down 5 times. They only converted twice. And then they were 4 of 12 on 3rd down. It was just one of those games where the Jags honestly came to play. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Jacksonville. We spent a lot of time also mocking them this season. I've spent a lot of time personally mocking Urban Meyer, who's now gone, and they're looking for their next head coach. Let's hope they make the right decision this time. And they played like a team that was willing to do anything to win. And what I mean by that is, look, their fans were some of them were going to show up in clown attire, right? You guys heard about this,
Good
right?
old Clown Town.
Exactly.
As Pat McAfee was calling them.
Town.
Clown Town.
Exactly. So that's a slap in the face to those players. That's embarrassing to those players. They want to go out there and show, no, we're not a clown. We're not a clown organization. We're not a clown
Well,
team.
they were so the whole reason why the fans were wearing clown attire was because of the news that Jacksonville was going to keep their general manager, and then it started on social media where Jags fans were switching their profile pictures on like Twitter to the clown emoji with the Sean Connon's iconic mustache.
Yeah.
So then then it came out that some fans were planning to protest by wearing clown attire to the game. So
True.
That's why they were wearing clown attire. Just to preface what was going on.
No, that's good. That's good information. That's that to me is what it's all about. And look, I talked about this at the beginning, like Carson Wentz, just for some reason, he can't get out of his own way a lot of times. And that was sort of the case in this game. It's brutal because all the Colts have to do is win this game and they're in the playoffs, right? That's it. But then they open the door for madness, for Pittsburgh and Baltimore to still have a chance because their game was pretty much over at this point as well. But they also had a chance, and then it opened up the wild card thing and made it a little more crazy. So for the Jags, this is similar to the Lions. This is one of those games where it's one of those nice confidence builders going into next year. Not Dan Campbell, jeez. Whoever their coach will be, because we don't know yet. Moving forward, so. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have. It's an embarrassing loss. It's one of the most embarrassing and upset losses that I can remember that knocked a team out of the playoffs. So, yeah, and to lose it the way the Colts did was just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, for me in this game, I was very surprised that Jonathan Taylor only had 77 yards on the ground. I'm not sure why you're not utilizing one of your best rushers who could be in the running for some league award. I'm not sure if he's up there for MVP, but
yeah, he was. And you know what? And they only gave it to him 18 times. It's just ridiculous.
It's crazy. Why aren't you using Jonathan Taylor in this situation? This is a game. If you win, you're in the playoffs. And now you're sitting at home while Alabama's losing in your stadium in the national championship game.
There it is. I was wondering how long it was going to take.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't start the show off with that. Sorry, boys. I was having some technical difficulties for a second there. So
all good.
I'm back now.
Yeah, you pretty much just said it. I mean, they also fell behind early, so they kind of had to throw it. I mean, the Jacksonville went on a hell of a run to start the game. If I can open this, I can't remember the exact score
of this 26-11.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember the gap. At one point it was 23-3. So I mean, they couldn't get anything going. Jacksonville's defense deserves a ton of credit for the way they played. They shut down Carson Wentz, and it was just embarrassing, extremely embarrassing for the Colts. And you know what? I don't feel bad for him.
No, I mean this has been this has been the story of Carson Wentz. I mean, yeah, he's a Super Bowl champion, but he wasn't the one who led his team to the Super Bowl. He got hurt. Unfortunately, he was having a great season that year. He got hurt. Nick Foles, came in, and obviously the rest is history. But ever since he came back from that injury, he just never looked the same. There's a reason why they got rid of him in Philly, and this is why, because in the biggest moments, ever since that injury, he just comes up short. And they traded a first round, and that's the other devastating thing for Indianapolis here is they're not even getting their first round draft pick this coming draft, because they traded that away to Philly for Carson Wentz, thinking that that all they needed was that they thought that they were a Super Bowl or a playoff ready team, that they just needed to plug in a quarterback,
They plugged in the wrong quarterback.
And it's really, that's what it was. They plugged in the wrong quarterback. Carson Wentz did not deliver this year. Think about it. They started 1-5.
Yeah.
And then they had to completely make a miracle run to even get into this position. And you're playing Jacksonville, who the week prior got blown out or had a 50 burger put on them by New England. And I caught the tail end of what Kirby was saying, because for some reason my audio cut out. But I now I can hear everybody fine. But I caught the tail end of Kirby mentioning the fact that, why are you putting the ball in Wentz's hands and not Jonathan Taylor's? And he's absolutely correct. Now, the reason why I would think that why they didn't do it is because that offensive line was just getting bullied.
Yeah.
And they just didn't feel comfortable doing it. But at the same time, Carson Wentz was just, when do you pull the plug on Carson Wentz? When do you think, this is not going for you today, dude? Like, our playoff lives are on the line. You're not getting it together. I would have pulled Carson Wentz at halftime and been like, all right, Jacob Eason, let's see what you can do. Let's see if you can do, like, you got to do something and be like, hey, like, act like this matters and not keep, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. That's literally what they were doing. What they were doing was insane.
True.
And the fact that the fact that they're losing their first round pick too for this guy is really a slap in the mouth to the fan base, to the organization. Carson Wentz did not hold up his end of the deal. And honestly, I hope he's feeling the wrath of all the Colts fans. And I hope, I just hope he feels like, I just hope he feels bad because this was a very disappointing result. And come on, it's Jack's. They have the number 1 pick in the draft again, and you lose to them.
Yeah, and it was also one last thing. It was a nice game for Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't had a lot of them this year, for a lot of reasons. That's a team that needs a ton of work, to put it lightly. And nice game for him. Nice confidence builder. There was a guy that before the season he really hadn't lost much in his life, like two or three games in his entire high school, college career. So happy, kind of happy for Lawrence. I don't think he's a bad dude. I don't have anything against him. So
no, there was talk of, is he a bust? I'm like, it's too early. Think about it. Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions when
he was terrible for a couple years. Yeah,
he was terrible for his first 3 years. It takes time, and on top of that, they need to build that team
right
for him to start to flourish and be the guy that we know he is, or that we've seen that he can be. So I think this was, like you said, I think this was a good game for Trevor Lawrence to finish the season and kind of go into the offseason with some confidence, because he made some really dang on good throws and good quarterback decisions in this game. He really flashed the greatness that he can be if they can just get him get him the right people around, get the right people around him in this organization. Trevor Lawrence can take him places, but so a good confidence game for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, one last thing. And it may be a bit off base, but it's funny to think about people talking about Trevor Lawrence as a bust when they gave Peyton Manning 4 or 5 years before he finally won a playoff game.
It's just the society we live in now, man.
I was gonna say that wouldn't fly now. Guys are kicked out after 2 seasons, so it's just funny to try to compare different eras. But anyway, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I think fans and critics are expecting greatness immediately. As soon as you step on the NFL
gratification
field,
is what they want.
And it just can't happen like that. Yes, sometimes you can, but other times
it's rare. It's rare for it to work straightforward. Unless you're drafted to a good team, then you have a chance.
Absolutely.
Mac Jones, for instance.
Yeah.
Mac Jones got, he won the lottery. He went to, a pretty, a decent team with a great, infrastructure, he won out. What people need to understand is these top draft pick guys, they're going to the worst teams. They're going to bad teams. So it takes a while to get that going. And then also factor in when you got, the owner and the general manager making the wrong decision at coach by bringing in Urban Meyer instead of bringing in a guy who knows what he's doing in the NFL.
Right.
Yeah, that could also set, that's going to set
Funds
Trevor
the
Lawrence
growth of
back
a quarterback. Right.
Yeah,
It stunts the growth of a quarterback.
So for me, that's why this next coaching hire for the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be tremendous. They can't mess this up because they've essentially lost a year on Trevor Lawrence. This rookie year, I mean, we could pretty much throw it away and kind of evaluate him going forward depending on who they pick as their coach. And that's why they need to make sure they make the right decision here because Trevor Lawrence is the future for your franchise. He's your franchise guy. We know there hasn't been a prospect like this since Andrew Luck, who of course we saw at the national championship game for the first time since he retired, looking like a dad.
That mustache,
he looks
terrible,
really
terrible mustache. He needs to cut that off immediately. But yeah, like you don't want to take him that route that happened to Andrew Luck, where it took the team forever to finally get him a good offensive line to protect him. By the time they got that, he was already too banged up to keep going.
Yeah.
They need to do this correct. Like they need to make correct decisions from here on out because they're already behind the 8 ball with this season.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think we wrapped this game up pretty good. The Jaguars defeating the Colts 26-11. The next game we'll talk about briefly, the Titans beating the Houston Texans. This was sort of a game where Tennessee was unsure at the time if they locked up the number 1 seed. They ended up locking the number 1 seed.
Well, it wasn't they were unsure. It's they knew what they needed. They needed to win to lock it up.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry, Carlos. They needed to win to lock up the 1 seed. In Houston, Houston came back and almost derailed that effort. But I was very surprised on how close this game was. Still no Derrick Henry. He was not activated, but he's practicing. I think after the first round bye, since they have the number 1 seed, we're going to be seeing Derrick Henry again.
Yeah, 100%. He's coming back.
Yeah, I like my preseason Super Bowl pick of the Titans going from the AFC. I just do. I don't know what it is about them, but it also depends on what Ryan Tannehill shows up because we've seen him be
at
great
his best,
and
we've seen him at his
well.
worst.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was pretty good in this game, but I got to give some props to the Texans. I got to give some props to Davis Mills. He played well. He struggled at times this season. They're trying to figure out their quarterback situation. We all know Deshaun Watson's not going to be there, whether he's on another team or whether he's a free agent or whatever the case is. Is Davis Mills the guy that you guys would go with for the future, or would you try to draft someone or take a chance if there's another?
I mean, in my opinion, I think you go with Davis Mills. I thought there was one throw that he threw to Danny Amendola, which was just perfect. It was a perfect throw. He has played good football here in the last bit of the season. I think Davis Mills, they have something in Davis Mills. Now, do I think he's gonna be like their Super Bowl winning caliber quarterback? Probably not. But I think you definitely give him another go here. And Brett Johnson saying got to give Mills another shot. I agree 100%. I think you give him another go. Davis Times, that's fantastic. But I agree. I think you give him another season. You start to build around him, and I think he's your future from here on out.
Yeah, and also this goes with a lot of teams. They have no running game. I mean, they really don't. So that's another thing they have to do, and they have to make sure of this offseason. You got to get a better offensive line. You have to either get in draft a running back or find a better option than what you have now, because they just haven't been able to run the football. I mean, 28 yards for Johnson in this game. It's just not going to get the job done. I mean, your quarterback's going to have to throw for 300 yards like Davis Mills did in this game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was impressed by the Texans. I mean, they've shown some fight this season too.
My concern is the Houston Texans rubbed a lot of bad dirt on my man Tyrod Taylor from you know who.
Yeah.
I wish he would have gotten at least 1 or 2 more games to try to prove himself, but they just announced. Yeah, I mean, not that. I mean, he was probably not that good, but still, Tyrod Taylor has gotten so many chances. I mean, especially with the Chargers, and I feel like he needs that one shot. But I mean, just going off a bunny trail. That's
Yeah,
my,
but here's the thing.
perspective.
Here's the thing. He had a shot here. He got injured again. That's the
Yeah.
other preference. Is he gets injured all the time. It feels like he's
hurt a
not.
lot.
It feels like maybe he's just not a reliable quarterback.
Yeah.
Maybe this is he's just destined to be more of the mentor role. You
Yeah.
know, he's been through multiple systems. Maybe this is what he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be a starting quarterback anymore.
Yeah,
That's maybe what it is.
He's also got a ring too as a backup, so that's something to keep in mind too. So yeah, the whole mentor thing, I could definitely see it. Yeah, he's had his chances, I think, at times. Maybe he hasn't been given as much of a chance as he should, but Davis Mills has been a better option. He's just played. First of all, he's played more, and he's played consistently for the most part. Yeah, we'll see what happens. The Titans, I mean, they kind of were in cruise control in this game. They didn't, This was a really fun game to go back and forth and just see what was going on, because there was a ton of back and forth. It was a crazy game, but the Titans showed at the end, the talent disparity on hand, and I mean, I have nothing to say about them. If they get Derrick Henry back, I think first of all we're going to have to see what kind of shape he's in, right? I think that's the thing everybody wants to see. What kind of physical condition is Derrick Henry in? How the rehab was sped up very much. So, I mean, this is an injury that takes sometimes a year to recover from fully, sometimes longer. So the fact that he's back so quote unquote soon, I don't know if it's alarming or if it's just something, to watch out for, but definitely that's the big storyline for the Titans heading into the playoffs, I think. And that's what everybody's looking on for.
Yep, I agree.
Let's move on.
We
have another game we're going to be talking about in depth. It is one Big Ben Roethlisberger and his final game at M&T Bank Stadium. This was a matchup I enjoyed watching as well, due to the fact that
Did you really enjoy this game? Because I didn't. This game
I enjoyed the fact that Big Ben went out and gave it all he had.
Here we go. Kirby praising mediocre quarterbacks.
He didn't play well at
all. Here we go.
He didn't play well at all.
Go. He loves Taysom Hill, and he loves this version of Big Ben.
Okay, he got to go against practice squad, our practice squad safety, and we only had 4 active corners. So, and one of those guys got hurt.
Yeah.
And so I was like, who are you going to put out there? A linebacker now? What the hell? We have no one else to throw out there.
It's a storybook ending for Big Ben, making it.
It's not a storybook ending.
It's
a storybook ending is when he gets beat by 50 points this weekend. Carlos, please have your team take.
Oh yeah, the retirement party in Kansas City.
Jeez.
Unfortunately, I cannot attend this party in person. I received the invitation.
You'll be there virtually.
I cannot attend it, but I will be there virtually from the comfort of my couch.
That's it. Yeah, this game, once again for the Ravens, it's just a lack of scoring. I mean, the defense played about as well as they could play. They held up about as long as they could hold up. They gave up a couple big plays on defense, but it's just typical. I mean, when Tyler Huntley first came in this season, I guess about 4 or 5 weeks ago. It's hard to remember when Lamar last played, but I think it was about a month ago now.
It's been a while
because he had COVID and then he played 1 week and then he was hurt.
Then he hurt his ankle, and then he's been out since.
So, people were saying after Huntley's first game, which was a win against the Bears, which really was not a dominant win. It was an average game. Replace Lamar. And I was like, really? And in the last 2 weeks, Huntley's proven that he's a backup. He's a backup. I mean, he just doesn't have enough to be a starting quarterback in this league.
I mean, I think he could start for some teams, but I don't think he's like the guy you're going to bring out there to win a Super Bowl.
He's not a franchise. Certainly not. Certainly not. But yeah, it's just frustrating because they've had so many times in the red zone. I think of this game, and I think about the game I went to last week where they end up in the red zone, and then it's just like, well, you might as well bring out Justin Tucker on 1st and goal because you're not going to score a touchdown. It's and it's really only been of late for the Ravens, at least for not like the Giants, where they went like 6 years without scoring a touchdown. So, but yeah, that was basically it for me. This was a defensive battle. It was sort of a throwback, classic kind of Ravens-Steelers matchup.
Terrible weather in that game too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, wind, rain,
terrible,
very cold. I'm really glad I didn't go to this game because I thought about it. So yeah, I mean, hats off to the Steelers. They did enough to win. It certainly wasn't pretty. It certainly wasn't flashy.
It just wasn't. It just wasn't a romanticized win the way Kirby put it.
Yeah, he made it sound like Big Ben threw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
I did not depict it accurately.
Yes, you did. I mean, no, you didn't. You're correct.
Oh, yes, I did. Thanks, Carlos.
Oh, he got you there.
Carlos.
He got me. He got me.
Yeah, but
I jumped the gun.
The Ravens should be fine. They get healthy in the offseason. I don't think they'll have any worries. I mean, it's just sad for me because they were 8-3, the number 1 seed in the AFC. They were
and then it just
best
went
team in the AFC North, and then they just crumbled down the stretch. All those injuries that piled up to that point caught up to them. Lamar had a ton of issues after that, and then it all started kind of with the upset loss to the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. That was kind of the start of the spiral. So tough season.
Yeah.
But,
I remember that. We were both at B-dubs that night.
What an embarrassing game that was to watch. Holy cow. But,
yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I think really in terms of the Ravens, it was just a season from hell. And they fought the good fight for as long as they could, and they were the number 1 seed. And then just couldn't keep going. And I think just the key thing for the Ravens is get healthy. Stay healthy going into next season because next season they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So
yeah, don't get hurt in the preseason like this year. They lost like 4 guys before the season even started. That's just brutal.
Yeah.
And also fire Greg Roman. That's all I got. Back to you, Kirby.
Hey, Pops out here. He agrees with me.
Yeah, of course he's going to agree with you. He's your pops. But, I mean, yeah.
So he's right. He's right.
He's right. He's correct. He's correct. He's correct. He's correct that, like, yeah, Big Ben deserves recognition. He's had a hell of a career. We mentioned it last episode that, like, what he's done in the past is admirable. It's a Hall of Fame worthy career. But
the toughness, I mean, playing through injuries.
Yeah. The Super Bowls, the stats, just everything that he's done in the, being a thorn in the side of multiple teams.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Trust me.
But for me, it's just like this version that we got is not a good version of Big Ben. Like Big Ben sucks now. Like he's not good.
Yeah, and I remember a couple years ago when he got in shape, and they showed him in preseason and he was slimmed down. I think it actually made him slower and less mobile. if that's possible. It just seemed like after that his mobility was like zero. And that was really what made Big Ben the quarterback he was, because you would think you have 3 guys trying to tackle him and he somehow stays up or escapes and is able to just like throw the ball up. And back in the day, Hines Ward's down there or whoever. So
Santonio Holmes.
Santonio Holmes is a part of that Super Bowl team. So yeah, it's a hell of a career. I mean, I'm not going to look past that. I'm not going to deny that. It's about to come to an end this weekend. But he had a great career, and for him to keep coming back, he had several season-ending injuries. We knew about that. To show toughness and play through injuries, he's a great quarterback. Not anymore though. I mean, you've really seen the injuries catch up to him in the last couple years, and yeah. So that's all I got. I mean, he deserves all the recognition, but let's wait till the season's over and then we can give.
Then we can look back and give him all the praise. Now now before we move on, let's set up the scenario now, because it's going to come in later. So at this point, the Colts are eliminated because the Steelers won.
Yep.
Now, this goes down to Sunday Night Football, where it sets up the scenario: win and in. Chargers, Raiders. If either one wins, they're in, the other's out. If they tie, they're both in and the Steelers are out. That is the scenario we're looking at the end of the 1 o'clock slate going into the 4 o'clock slate, at least on the AFC side. There we go.
Set up. There you go. Nice job.
Dan, I just have one more question. It's going to come up at the bottom of your screen.
Yes. Yes, Greg Roman should be fired. He's his play calling is just it's amazing. We've seen it. We've seen it this season a lot. I talked about it especially against Pittsburgh. You run the football all the way down the field. You have bust off a couple big runs, and then you throw an interception in the red zone. Why are you throwing the ball into the end zone? Like,
didn't I think I texted you, didn't I? I was like, what are they doing?
Like, you're like, why are they doing that? Like, and I said to you, this is Greg Roman. This is what he's been all season. You think he's calling a good game, and it's something about those meaningful drives, finishing off a meaningful drive that Greg Roman hasn't been able to do. Well, usually in the playoffs, but also like in games this season. I mean, they had 4 of the last 5 games, were all 1 possession games, and I think it was 4 or 5 total points that they lost by. So just brutal, just absolutely brutal. And you make 1 or 2 more plays, and this would have been a playoff team. But hey, that ain't how it works.
So. Like Frank Sinatra said, that's life.
That's life. That's
Hey, we have much more to get to. Once again, we're live, episode 146, the Kirby on Sports podcast. Your comments are welcome. We appreciate all the comments so far. We're going to take another quick break, and we will be right back. For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com.
Whoa, what happened? I changed again.
Oh my gosh. He changed again.
This time I didn't get enough time to put up the jersey.
And he's walking to hang up his Mahomes jersey. Once again, we're here with you, the Kirby on Sports podcast, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Check us out. The next game we'll talk about briefly, very briefly, the Bills and the Jets. I mean, what's to talk about in this game?
Just that the Bills locked up the division in this game. Pretty much, that's really what happened. I mean,
that's it. That's the tweet.
That's it. That's about it.
quite honestly, yeah. That's all I got.
All right. Well, short and sweet. Thank you for that, boys. The Dolphins and the Patriots. The Dolphins beating the Patriots. Yeah, that's one thing. But I mean, yeah, great win in the division. Yeah, the Patriots are in the playoffs. But what really is a head scratcher is the fact that Brian Flores is no longer the coach in Miami.
Yeah, especially after the run they went on. Like,
are we getting into that in this segment, or are we still doing a coaches fired segment later?
No, we're gonna get into that later, but still, I mean, it can't be talked about enough that Brian Flores is no longer a head coach in this league,
and the fact that he's the one coach that has really had Bill Belichick's number. I mean, he's like what? 5 and no, I don't remember his record again, but it's a winning record against the Patriots,
which is hard to find anywhere.
Yeah, and he's the one guy who consistently beats the Patriots and is constantly they swept them this year. They beat them in the first week and the last week of the season. Yeah. But yeah, the fact that they go out, they pretty much dominate the Patriots in this game. and
did.
and the fact that they do that, and then the next day they surprise the whole NFL world by firing him, even though things look great. Things were going in the right direction. Is astounding to me. It really shows that these guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, this was a really good win for the Dolphins, and I thought they pretty much dominated from start to finish. I know the score is a little closer than someone may say, but yeah, they really shut down the Patriots' rushing attack, which for the last several weeks of the season had really been clicking, and obviously was a big part of the win in the game that Mac Jones only threw the ball like 3 times. So, yeah, this is a nice. Again, I talk about confidence boosters for young quarterbacks, very much so for Tua. The Dolphins went on a great run this season. I mean, they started 2-7, right?
No, they started 1-7.
1-7. Yeah.
And then they went and won 7 games in a row, albeit against kind of mediocre competition. Still, and then
I don't care who you're playing in the NFL.
Yeah, they still went on a run and ultimately ended with a winning record, correct?
Yep. 9-8 to finish the season. So, yeah, I can't. That's crazy to me. This is going to be a fun little. I'm not going to call it a rivalry, but certainly going forward in this division. We know that the Bills are in another class when it comes to the AFC East. The Patriots are obviously they're not in the Bills class anymore. I think they used to be. I'm not going to say they're rebuilding either, but they're still a playoff team. But interesting to see Mac Jones and Tua in the future and kind of see how those two guys match up. I think it's going to be a fun little rivalry moving forward in this division.
Yeah. And for the Patriots, I mean, they're kind of limping into the playoffs right now because they've, aside from the beatdown that they had on Jacksonville, I mean, really since the bye week, they haven't looked like that team that in the middle of the season, people were clamoring, oh, they're going to make a run to the Super Bowl. They're one of the best teams. They were the 1 seed at one point, weren't they? If I remember correctly. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's not the best of circumstances going into the playoffs for the Patriots, but now they have to play the Bills for a third time. And we're, of course, like we said, we're going to get into the playoff matchups later on. But yeah, I mean, tough loss for the Patriots, because had they won, they would have gone and faced the Bengals instead of having to go to Buffalo and reface a team that you've already faced twice.
And the nice thing is, your opponent well. But
they know you just as well. And the last time they played in basically normal weather circumstances, the Bills put the beat down on the Patriots.
Playoffs are different though. They always are.
Agreed.
Yeah, so you never know, but yeah, I think you said it well. Like the Pats are they're in the postseason. Belichick still. You see the influence he has, obviously. He's Bill Belichick. I mean, come on. For people to write off the Patriots after their last season, which is really rough, and they had a ton of injuries, and Cam Newton wasn't any good. For people to count them out and say Belichick's done, you're just fooling yourself. It's like when, it's like when people count out Saban, and people are going to count out Saban that they didn't win the national championship this year. Come on.
They're going to be right back in it next year.
Right. I mean, it's different in Saban's case. He gets, 1 million 5-star recruits every year, and he gets the top players in the country to play there. It's a little different in the National Football League. It's meant to be a little more even than that. But yeah, it's I don't think the Patriots get far in the playoffs. But look, I also don't think you can count out Bill Belichick and this team. They find ways to win. I mean, who would have thought that, in some of the ways they've won this year, they've just been crazy. So I don't have confidence that the Patriots are going to get far, but I'm also not on the boat where they're a one and done playoff team. I'm a little wiser than that, I think.
I think there's a very good possibility. I mean, they can beat the Bills. They can beat the Bills. Yeah. I mean, the Bills aren't, they're very quarterback. That's for a later segment. Later segment, we talk about the playoff matchup. But yeah, not a good way to go into the playoffs, losing to Miami that way. That'll definitely leave a bad taste in their mouth, I think, and maybe possibly motivate them to play better in the playoff matchup. But yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, I think y'all touched on it well. The Dolphins over the Patriots 33-24. We're going to get into some more juicy action in terms of the NFC West. You had a close game between the Seahawks and Cardinals, and a very, very close game that went into overtime between the 49ers and Rams. Let's start with the Seahawks and Cardinals, because still all four of those teams facing off in the division, and a lot on the line playoffs wise. Not as much for the Seahawks and Cardinals, but for the 49ers and the Rams.
For the Cardinals, there was still a lot on the line for them too, because if they had won,
they would have won the title.
They would have won the
Oh,
division.
yes, that's true, because they were watching the winner of the 49ers.
They were both playing at the same time. They weren't really watching. It was more of they just needed to handle their side of business and then hope that the 49ers handled the Rams, and they would have gone on to win the division.
Yeah, so sorry.
You're
Seahawks
fine.
beating the Cardinals by a 38-30. I was surprised. I thought that the Seahawks weren't going to finish out strong. Who knows what their future is going to be like? But Russell Wilson with 3 touchdowns and an interception in this matchup as well. Rashad Penny, almost 200 yards rushing on the day.
He's had like a fantastic last 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's played well. Well, it's kind of nice to see the Seahawks, who Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll probably not going to be together next year. That's a strong indication on both ends. So kind of nice to see them have one last hurrah together. And we saw I saw some quotes in the article I was reading about this game, and just how elated Pete Carroll was. I mean, he said, "I know they're not going to have a parade in Seattle, but it's a joyous moment that we win this football game and we go out the way we did." And essentially that the team didn't quit and all that, which is a great point. I mean, and that goes back to coaching. You're out of the playoffs, your season's over as far as the regular season, but it's all about how you finish. And I thought Seattle finished really strong, and the Cardinals, I'm very concerned with the Cardinals going into the postseason. We'll talk about that later, but they've been so wishy-washy this year as to what team is going to show up on the field, especially led by Kyler Murray, of course, who he didn't have a great game in this game, really. And they didn't run the football at all. James Conner only 52 rushing yards. I mean,
James Conner did get hurt though, so
yeah, true. So yeah, the Cardinals concern me a little bit. Especially with Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think some of their youth is going to show at times, especially with Cliff Kingsbury doesn't have any playoff coaching thing history to go off of, so it's hard to really say. But yeah, I'm happy for Seattle. It's a nice end for Russell Wilson, who came back very quickly after that finger injury, finger injury, I guess it was, that was surgically repaired, and he came back kind of fast from rehabbing that way too fast. And we saw that. We saw him really struggle down the stretch of the season. And so yeah, that's what makes this such a nice game for me, is he still showed flashes of old Russ. And now he can take the whole off season, get healthy, and wherever he ends up next year, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, I think, more than anything else. And for the Cardinals, basically what I said before, I'm a little concerned about them in the postseason. To me, they're not a legitimate threat. And you can record that, and we can play that back when I'm wrong and it blows up in my face. I'm fully prepared for that.
I mean, evidence kind of proves your point. I mean, sure, they beat the Cowboys, of course. I gotta bring that up. They did beat Dallas, but at the end of the game, they were kind of holding on. It's not as if they beat the Cowboys, and for 3 quarters they were the team. They were pretty much, running Dallas out. But it's not as if they ran up the score. They only scored 25 points, and then Dallas came back and made it close and made it a 3-point loss. But I agree. I mean, with Cliff Kingsbury, I feel like this is how it's gone every season. They start off hot, they look like one of the best teams in the league, and then just at the end, they're just limping to the playoff or to the end. And Kyler Murray didn't necessarily play the best in this game. Russell Wilson had one hell of a game. He really brought it out. And I thought there was a great possibility that Arizona was going to lose to Seattle. I just had a feeling that Seattle, just being, that Russ was gonna just have one of those games where he just can't miss, and he played pretty well. He did have some, so a couple interceptions here and there, but did he have a pick? Yeah, he had a pick in this game. Yeah. And
one pick.
Yeah,
three touchdowns, one pick. Yeah,
and the one pick was pretty bad. I remember it now. And yeah, for Seattle, I mean, it was pretty much like you said, the last hurrah. So, and for Arizona, they got a lot of questions going into and they're playing a tough opponent. I mean, they're playing LA for the third time.
Yeah.
So another rematch in the division.
It's going to be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, and it's in Los Angeles. So last time that they played each other, in that stadium, Arizona blew out the Rams. So we'll see if they can kind of go back to that team now. But I think the loss of DeAndre Hopkins, but I think the loss of DeAndre Hopkins has really, really hurt this offense because AJ Green, they played the game of their lives against Dallas. Really, I think they gave everything against Dallas, and then just here they had nothing. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I got to say. I agree with you, Dan. I don't really think they're a threat, but I think they can make some noise. But I don't think they're a threat to go all the way.
I agree.
So before we get into the 49ers and Rams, I do have to preface that the Saints beat the Falcons 30-20, and they needed the 49ers to lose in order to make it into the playoffs, which did not happen. Anything we need to touch on Saints Falcons wise or not?
The fact that the Saints, even though despite losing Jameis Winston, having to deal with, your future franchise quarterback, Taysom Hill, talking to you, Kirby,
that's
and then dealing with having to have Ian Book play one game, bringing Trevor Siemian to play the rest of this game, because then, the future Washington franchise quarterback, Taysom Hill, got hurt. The fact that despite all of that, despite everything, the Michael Thomas stuff, everything that happened prior, the Jameis Winston injury, that despite everything that they went through, they were still in the position where they needed they needed a little help, but they just had to win, and the pressure was on the 49ers that they would get into the playoffs. I mean, that's an incredible coaching job by Sean Payton to really guide this team to at least be in the conversation for the playoffs. Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, by Matt Ryan, I can't wait for him to retire. He's not going to retire yet, but he played terribly.
He should retire.
He should, but he's not going to.
Who lasts longer, Joe Flacco or Matt Ryan? Because they're both still in the league. Don't forget.
Probably Flacco, I would say.
He's a backup, yeah.
But again, at this point in time, these three games were going on at the same time that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So really, they were kind of just like it was kind of like it's not as if they were all scoreboard watching. They were all in the thick of it, especially so yeah. So we got to preface that also, but. And the scenario we're in right now, so the way we're breaking it down, at this point, the Cardinals lost, so we know they're not going to win the division. The Rams have basically secured the division, but now it's more of seeding-wise, because a loss by them now would put them at the 4 and move Dallas to the 3. And for the 49ers, it was basically they need to win to be the 6, and because if they lose, they're just completely out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Totally. I mean, you said it perfectly.
That's the scenario going into the Rams 49ers game.
I like what you're doing there, Carlos. Keep it up. The 49ers and the Rams, the 49ers have been a problem for the Rams in in the past, the
Kyle
Sunday night,
Shanahan.
the Sunday night football matchup,
Former
I
Washington
believe.
assistant.
Yes.
What's that?
Thanks, Dan.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for that, Dan. It was a Sunday night football matchup, I believe, where the 49ers killed the Rams at home. Am I correct?
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It was either Sunday night or Monday night. It was a
Yeah,
nighttime game.
It was a Sunday night. I'm not
Mhm.
sure how much they killed him by, but it was
Monday night. Monday night.
It was a
game.
Monday night game. You see,
Monday
yeah,
night.
it was Monday. Yeah, it was a Monday night game.
You're right.
Yeah,
It was
so
it was 30. It was 31-10.
yeah, so only thing I remember, Matt Stafford throwing out a bomb to some receiver and the 49ers pick it. And
They've been a thorn in the Rams' side for years. Kyle Shanahan has pretty much had their number.
Yeah, but what's interesting to me in this game, somebody on TV pointed this out. I forget who, but they keep talking about how Matthew Stafford tries to air it out to his deep weapon, and he doesn't use his check down. And I feel like that really
He's a home run hitter. Yeah.
He's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger. That's always who he's been.
Yeah.
He's always been that way.
So sometimes
play
that
safe
helps, but other times that hurts when he's not using
it's
his
hurt him a lot this year.
vision. Yeah. Like, and there were a couple replays that the network, I'm blanking on this. I don't know why, but it was like Matt Stafford had wide open checkdowns, but he was going to air it out to his hot target, his like $1 million receiver, whatever you want to call it. And
that's part of the problem too. Yeah, you're trying to get the stars the football.
yeah, and
you got to keep them happy.
And you look at the end of this,
especially when you got Odell on your team.
Yeah.
You look at the end of this game, firing to Odell, and it gets intercepted in the 49ers win. I mean, that's another example of what I saw from that network, and I'm still blanking on the name. But anyways, close game.
What name are you trying to remember?
Fox?
I think it was Fox. I forget.
Yeah, it was on. It was on
the
Fox.
Game was on Fox.
The game was on Fox.
No, there was pregame coverage about.
Okay.
It was not the actual game, but it was somebody analyzed what Matthew Stafford was doing, throwing the deep ball to like a home run hitter instead of using his checkdowns to his advantage, which I saw, and I saw that too, because I mean, yeah, it was overtime, but he was trying to throw a home run ball and end the game right then and there. But I think he had one check down or something, but he didn't use it in the 49ers won.
Well, here's the other
very
problem.
Guilty of that this season. Going for the home run pass way too often.
Isn't he like leading the league in interception? Isn't he like tied with Trevor Lawrence?
He might be. He's got 17 picks.
Yeah, I think he's like up there with Trevor Lawrence.
But he also has 41 touchdowns. So I mean, it's you get what you get with Matt.
Good ratio.
Yeah. But for me, the issue with the Rams is they don't have a run game. I mean, think about it. They went into halftime up by 14, 2 touchdowns. You know, if they would have had a running game, it would have helped tremendous. Sony Michel, and this is the reason why the Patriots let go of Sony Michel, because Sony Michel ultimately, since getting out of college, of course he was with Nick Chubb, if I remember, at Georgia.
Yeah.
They were like Thunder, and I think they call themselves Thunder and Lightning, kind of like what. Anyways, another running back duo called themselves back in the day, but. You know, Sony Michel, since leaving Georgia and coming into the NFL, going to the Patriots, just has not been like that. Has not been a good running back. And like I said, there's a reason why he didn't work out in New England, and it kind of showed here why he's just not a good, reliable running back. He couldn't get anything going. And also, I mean, we do also got to factor in that the 49ers just have a great pass rush. They were in Stafford's face
all season. They've been
all game, and we knew that. We knew there was they were the reason why they made that run to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, was because of how dominant this defense was. Of course, they've lost some pieces since then. Of course, Richard Sherman's not there anymore, and a couple other guys that escape my mind right now. But yeah, I just if that's the problem with the Rams, they don't have a running back that they can rely on. That's going to help them run time off the clock. San Francisco had so much time to tie, but I mean, going into the fourth quarter, they had it tied up, if I remember correctly. And while the Rams don't have a good run game, the 49ers have it figured out. They're using Deebo Samuel everywhere. Deebo Samuel was an animal in this game, and he terrifies me going into this playoff matchup. We'll get into that later, but yeah, really, the Rams just could not close the game out, and I think not having a running game hurts. Putting it on Stafford's shoulders, especially with how banged up he is already. The guy can't stay healthy. He is banged up, and with how good this 49ers defense was they were feeling themselves, with how good they were feeling themselves. And also the fact that, it was a home game essentially for the 49ers with how many 49er fans were there. It was just a recipe for disaster for the Rams, in my opinion. And it happened, and they lost, and now they're the 4 seed, and they're going to have to reface the Cardinals.
I think you covered it perfectly, Carlos. Yeah, the 49ers just they have multiple ways to win football games, and I think they've proven that. Even when Garoppolo didn't have his best game, he had 2 picks and he only had 1 touchdown pass. They find ways to run the football well. They find ways their defense gets stops when they need it. They're just a very well-rounded football team and a very dangerous team going into the playoffs. And I know we talked about before the show that I'm a little concerned about your boys. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But San Francisco is one of those teams that is not on everybody's radar, but they should be for sure. Plus they have the experience. I mean, they 2 years ago they were in the Super Bowl, so it wasn't that long. It wasn't that far. It wasn't that long ago. Jeez, I can't talk. Yeah, for the Rams, it's just Matt Stafford is just trying to play hero ball all the time. Like he has some of the best weapons in the entire NFL. I mean, when you have Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham, and you have Tyler Higbee, who's a pretty solid player.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of who else off the top of my head without looking. I'm just gonna look because I'm lazy. And Van Jefferson, gosh, I completely forgot about him. He's been such a great addition to their team. It's just like you should be better than this. Like when you have all those weapons. But the problem is, and you guys talked about it, and Carlos and Josh, both you guys said, is because he's trying to do too much. He's trying to go for the home run all the time. And sometimes you have to just take what the defense gives you. That's what makes the great quarterbacks great quarterbacks. They take what the defense gives them. So that's a concern for me for the Rams going into the postseason. The Niners, I'm feeling pretty good about them right now. And again, they have one of the best defenses, especially pass rushes, like you said, Carlos, going into the playoffs. And, the old adage, defense wins championships. It may not always be true, but it definitely helps. It definitely helps you survive and advance in the postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that pretty much well touched on it.
Also Jimmy G played a pretty decent game too, and that really helped the 49ers win this game.
Yeah.
Even with his hand.
Yeah.
Or
but it
whatever.
helped that they could run the ball. Also, we haven't really touched on the fact that this 49 or not 49, the Rams defense really came up short here. Like they couldn't stop Deebo Samuel for anything.
No.
And with all the superstars they have, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, I mean, they just couldn't get anything. And sure, Jalen Ramsey got the pick as like somewhere in the fourth quarter, I think. But I mean, really, they really didn't do much to stop the 49ers. So I just want to throw that in there too.
Absolutely agree.
All right. It all comes down to one final matchup.
Should have ended in tie. Damn it.
Okay. Hold on. So the situation is, just to remind everyone. So so now at this point, every spot is locked up in the playoffs. The NFC side is locked in. Okay. The number 1 seed, of course, is the Packers. The number 2 seed, Tampa Bay, wins it because they did beat the Carolina Panthers. Had the Rams beaten the 49ers, they would have been the 2 seed. That's also something that they lost in the 49ers, losing to the 49ers. They lost a chance to get the 2 seed and face Philly. So number 2 is Tampa. Number 3, Dallas moves up because the unlikeliest of scenarios there was only one scenario in which we would face the 49ers, and that was the scenario where we needed the Cardinals and the Rams to both lose. Then we would move up to the 3. It had the Buccaneers also lost, then we would move back up to the 2. But that didn't happen, of course. We moved up to the 3, and we got the one scenario where we faced the 49ers. The number 4 seed, of course, is the Rams. The 5 seed is the Cardinals. The 6 seed is the 49ers. And the 7 seed is Philly. On the other side, in the AFC, Titans are 1, Chiefs are 2, Bills are 3, Bengals are 4, number 5. No, so here's where things get. So the wild card is not set on the AFC side because of this game. So there's still one spot open. We know that the Patriots got in, and who's the other team that got in? Remind me again. It was the Patriots. No, I already said Bills. Who's face? So Patriots, Raiders. Who's the third wild card team? Remind me.
I'm absolutely blanking.
And I made a bracket, and I can't remember.
Give me one,
Bengals,
gentlemen.
No, not Bengals.
Steelers.
No. So it's the Patriots.
Patriots and the Bills.
Yeah, it's no. On the AFC side. So no, I'm sorry. So there's 2 spots still available, right? Correct? I don't know. It got confusing there.
The Chargers and Raiders were
fighting for one spot. We're basically fighting for one spot.
Well, no,
and then
they were both in at the start. Pittsburgh was behind them because
yeah.
Whoever wins essentially gets the one spot, and then Pittsburgh was going to get the other one because they
basically Pittsburgh was in based on because somebody had to do was win. But had they tied, then both the Raiders and the Chargers would get in. There we go. Now we have the scenario.
Yeah,
that was a little confusing.
It's all good. It was confusing.
That was a little
Sunday
confusing.
night, game number 272 to end the season. And what a way to end the regular season by this game, going into seconds left in overtime. And Raiders interim head coach Rich Bisaccia claimed that
Bisaccia.
He claimed that tie was an option maybe towards the end, but
wild.
They were probably going to, and then
wild, man.
They were probably trying to push for the tie, but I don't know. I was surprised. I was like, do you think both teams are just going to go out a knee? And everybody was
no, they were never going to do that.
Yeah, but then you hear these people like, you play to win the game. But what a game this was.
You do, but you also don't want to see, here comes the tough thing. Because you also don't want to, like, I don't know.
You see, okay, here's my thing. The game that we got, had that ended in a tie, 100, because at the end of the day, both teams were going for it. They were going for the win. And really, I think both of them deserved to get into the playoffs. Like, that was like,
I agree.
Like a tie, like that game ending in a tie would have been perfect, because I'm like, yeah, these are 2 playoff teams. Both of these teams are better than Pittsburgh. Let's get these guys in.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Of course you do. But yeah, I mean, like, the way that this game went, like, I feel like everybody would have been satisfied with the tie in this scenario, because at the end of the day, like I said, they both went for it. It's not as if they laid down and was just like, we're gonna need the ball 15 times and there you go. Like, that's not how it went.
No, you're not gonna see that. You are gonna.
Yeah, it had something like that happen. Oh, the NFL would have completely came down and like done investigations, find the teams, I'm pretty sure, because obviously they didn't actually play the game. They conspired to there would have to have been a conspiracy in that. So, yeah, I think the way the game played out, had it ended a tie, it would have been fine. I would have been okay with it. And I think the NFL would have been okay with it too, because it just went crazy.
Yeah, and it seemed like to me that's what direction it was going. If you just go back and look at the overtime period, especially towards the end there, the Raiders were really taking their time, and they weren't using any timeouts. They were huddling, they were taking all of the play clock. They were just taking their time lining up, snapping the ball, running the ball, and the Chargers were stopping the run pretty well. And like I said, I'm not going to say that they were trying to tie, but it kind of seemed like it in a way. Like, is this really happening right now? Of course, I really wanted it to happen more than anything, but yeah. And then the Chargers, Staley makes the dumbest decision ever. The clock's running. I think both teams are fine to let it go to a tie or have Carlson attempt a stupid long field goal. They weren't really in field goal range before that. Staley comes in, calls a timeout. You even say Justin Herbert say I've never rooted for a tie more in my life or something along those lines.
I saw that too.
And then the Raiders are like, okay, well, if you're just going to disrespect us like that, we're just going to go for the kill shot. And then Jacobs breaks off a 12, 13, 14-yard run, and then Carlson with a clutch kick to win it. So I think the game would have ended in a tie. I think both teams were fine with that. I think both teams kind of felt like, yeah, we're playoff teams. And again, you saw people visibly say like either that they wanted a tie or that they felt like a tie was imminent. And you heard Collinsworth and Al Michaels mention it several times too. Like they had to keep bringing it up. Pittsburgh's not in if it's a tie, just so you know. And it was funny because Chris Collinsworth was getting really animated at the end of the game. He's like, you gotta be kidding me.
It felt like they wanted the tie also. I feel like that would have been the perfect way to end this wild season.
It really would have been. But but hats off to the Raiders, man. All the crap they've been through this season, all the off the field stuff, all the stuff they've had to battle with, and they're in the playoffs. I mean, they freaking deserve it, man. What a job they've done this season and bounce back in a way that they have. The Chargers have a very bright future. Absolutely. Herbert played really well in this game, and this is another like really fun sort of rivalry that we're going to see in rivalry week in divisions for years to come. So this was just a really, really fun game. I know my analysis of this game's short, but like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The fact that the game even went to overtime, and then how overtime was going, where both teams punted, and then it's like, is this really going to happen? And it really looked like it was going to, but the Chargers just kind of the Chargers ruined it. I mean, I don't know why Staley took a timeout there.
Yeah, the timeout just made no sense to me. Also,
his reasoning, I didn't hear his reasoning. I didn't see the post game comments because I was just so pissed about it. But but this is going to be a really fun matchup for the future. And the Raiders are the Raiders are another team. Like they're going to fly under the radar a little bit, but I don't think they should. The way Derek Carr has played this season, they're just a team that they don't quit. They're a really fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think for the Raiders, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment to be the 5 seed, to get the 5, despite all the things that they went through, obviously with losing John Gruden because of, the emails, then Henry Ruggs because, he's an idiot and decides to drive drunk and murders, a poor girl and her dog. And then even recently they had another young player, catch a DUI. And I think there was another guy who got a DUI also.
Couple guys. Yeah.
Vegas is just a very dangerous place for young players. And it's Vegas. I mean, it's Sin City. It can be that way. And that was the risk that the NFL took when they put a franchise there.
True.
But yeah, I mean, so for them, I mean, this is a huge accomplishment. And if they even win one playoff game, I mean, you got to give Bisaccia. I think he gets the job, because he's led them. I mean, he steadied the ship.
Consideration.
He's definitely a consideration because he steadied the ship and he got these guys to the playoffs. And now depending on what happens in the playoffs, is really going to show. If they beat the Bengals, I think he gets I think he gets the job permanently. But back to this game. I mean, to preface this also, me and Dan watched this game live. Kirby had to get his beauty sleep. Me and Dan were texting each other throughout the whole game. We were texting each other throughout overtime. Dan actually called it quits at one point. He was like, good night, bye-bye Chargers, because it really looked like the Chargers were just going to lose. They did not look good up until like the last little bit of the game.
Right.
Yeah. So then next thing you know it, things start turning around. The Chargers start making a comeback. And then and it was just, this game was just absolutely insane. I agree with you. I think that timeout was idiotic because I even texted. I was like, oh my God, the Raiders are going for the tie.
He just did.
They're going for the tie because they were running the clock out. And then they called a timeout. I was like, what the heck are they doing? Yeah, just madness. Justin Herbert, what an incredible game. I mean, that last drive, he converted 5 fourth downs?
5, yeah.
It was insane, man. This game was insane. I mean, it really showed why football is still king. Why it's still the greatest, one of the greatest sports and dramas to watch, week in and week out.
And I didn't see the final ratings for that game, but I'm pretty certain it had more ratings, better ratings than the college football playoff, because the college football playoff had was on the lower end this year, because I mean, again, it was.
But granted, also the semifinals were on New Year's Eve, so people were doing other stuff. They weren't actually the game. Did I freeze in the back?
I think he did, but we can still kind of hear you. Just give it a second.
Okay, there we go. Now I'm back. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But yeah. So like the semifinals were on New Year's Eve. People were doing other stuff. I mean, yeah, and plus the games weren't all that entertaining. This right here, this was the type of game where you start texting and calling your buddies like, yo, you better turn on the TV right now because this is about to get insane. Like the tie is on the table. The tie is on the table, and they might screw the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Raiders did end up winning the game on a field goal, and
the fact that the coach is willing to admit,
that they were considering it.
They were like, yeah, we were considering the tie, and you could tell there was like a mutual feeling. Yeah, they're gonna tie because look how slow they're taking their time. They're taking forever to line up. They're waiting until the clock goes down to 5 to snap the ball. It just everything was kind of coming into place, and then Brandon Staley's like, hold on, I gotta mess this up right quick. Let me take a timeout.
Yeah, just again, the Chargers get screwed by poor clock management by the coach. I mean, why are you calling a timeout? Why are you calling a timeout?
It's hurt him a ton this season, and it's
and last season. Don't forget, Anthony Lynn last season hurt them all the time, right? And now this season, you thought it was going to change with Staley, and they get screwed again.
It's even worse with Staley, maybe. So
my condolences to a friend of the show, Dante, because he was going through it. The guy was going through it. The guy was going through it. I wanted to give him a hug, but
are you going to say that famous Dante catchphrase?
No, I'm okay.
No, okay. I didn't know if you were.
No.
But yeah, I mean, what a way to cap off with this amazing nightcap. And like you said, Carlos, that's why football is still king, and that's why the ratings are what they are.
That was
any last thoughts on this game?
Just about as thrilling of a regular season finale.
Ever.
Yeah,
that's all I have.
Fantastic season finale. And at this point, the bracket is set. The playoffs are ready to go. The Raiders get the 5. The Steelers sneak in. Yeah, they sneak in and get the 7 and get the pleasure of going back to Arrowhead and getting demolished by Patrick Mahomes and the boys.
I can't wait for that.
So, speaking of regular season finales, I forget which year it was, but it was Seattle and I think San Francisco. And
that was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago.
The last play of the game was a goal line stand. stuffed him at the line as time expired. I
Yeah.
remember that one because I was sick as a dog on my couch watching that game because I couldn't get to sleep. And I watched it. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What a game that was.
Yeah, this was bigger than that. I feel like this was an even more
Yeah.
entertaining game. I put this up there. I brought me and Dan we talked about it a little bit after the game, on our text, on our group text. Like I think it's up there with that legendary Rams Chiefs game on Monday night, where they were just going back and forth. It's up there. Dan thinks it's better because of the stakes that were involved. I think I might have to agree with Dan that just because of the stakes that were involved, the fact that the storyline that a tie puts them both in, and the tie was on the table, and it looked like it was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. I mean, yeah, I think I have to agree with Dan that I think that ultimately this game trumps that game just because of the stakes that were involved.
Absolutely. So that wraps up our
road through week 18.
Place fanfare.
And here we are, the finish line. 18 long weeks of football. This season was too dang long. It was too long. I can't do this. It's an adjustment period. We'll get used to it as seasons go on.
Now you got 2 teams in, so be grateful, my friend.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll give you the head coach firing. Stay tuned. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram, or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. I'm back with the boys, the Kirby on Sports podcast. We're going to talk about the head coach firing, short and sweet. We'll just get our thoughts on all these head coach firings. Starting off, number 1, Vic Fangio of the Denver Broncos. Go on.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't have much else to say. There's just some guys aren't meant to be head coaches in the NFL. I think Vic Fangio fits that mold pretty well, and I think he'll get a coordinator job somewhere. But I don't.
He could be next year's Dan Quinn, where he just completely transforms the defense. He's very well respected. It seemed like his players still played. I mean, they played hard against the Chiefs. They didn't give up. They had nothing. They had nothing to play for, and they still played hard for him. It seems like he, and even the departure, like the Broncos were like, we respect him. We admire what he did, but we need to go in a different direction. I think he's going to be okay. I agree, Dan. I don't think he's a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, when he was first hired, I thought he was a little bit older to be a head coach.
I mean, but you can't really. Age doesn't matter. It just matters on like how. And the other problem is they never really got that franchise quarterback. They tried Drew Lock. Drew Lock didn't work out. Teddy came in. Teddy wasn't really necessarily that much better. Injury problems, and then just ever since Peyton Manning left, they haven't been able to solidify that quarterback position.
Yeah,
the Hall of Fame quarterback John Elway is not very good at finding quarterbacks. It's kind of funny.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not a big fan of Elway. Anyway, continue.
Josiah Miller, thanks
Hey,
for
what's up,
stopping in.
Josiah? How you doing, man?
All right, next one, Mike Zimmer of the Minnesota Vikings.
I thought
was
this one was
about
definitely
time.
gonna. Yeah, it was about time. I mean, come on, we've been through this multiple times, multiple seasons. You guys only have what 1-2 playoff wins.
I think only 2. Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't working out, at this point. And him and Kirk Cousins just seemed like they just couldn't get on the same page anymore. So, the right decision was made. I think they need to let go of they did let go of the GM too in Minnesota also. So, but I think they just need a clean slate, which also means getting rid of Kirk Cousins. But they can't do that just yet because he still costs so much money.
Yeah, they got so much. They'd eat so much of that contract. They don't want to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And you also make a great point, like the quarterback head coach, relationship. It has to be strong, and you could tell that there was a lot of rift between them at times. When Kirk was in his bubble this year, but
That popped.
Yeah, he's mediocre. He was a mediocre head coach, and the fact that the Vikings have some pieces there, especially on offense, like they have talent. It's just a matter of Mike Zimmer wasn't able to coach them to bring them to the best level they could be at, and he was never able to. He was never able to bring them to their full potential, I don't think. And yeah, I agree with Carlos. This move makes a lot of sense, and yeah, Minnesota's got to change a lot of things, I think, because there's no reason why they should be on the outside looking in. I think with so much of the talent they have on that team, but you need a new quarterback. So,
yep.
All right, the next one, I have a lot. I have a mouthful to say, so get ready.
I know who it's going to be. Yeah.
Why the flippin' Dolphins decided to fire Brian Flores? I see no explanation for why.
Okay, I have an explanation as to their explanation, or the story behind why he got fired was there was a power struggle between him and the GM. Brian Flores wanted more control over the team, and obviously they have. I can't remember the guy's name, the GM's name in Miami, but their relationship just really soured. And then on top of that, the relationship between Tua and Brian Flores has apparently soured a lot also, because Brian Flores apparently was the person who was very vocal that he wanted Deshaun Watson instead of Tua Tagovailoa. And I mean, come on, let's be honest. I mean, you would also want Deshaun Watson to, despite or besides the all the legal stuff that he's dealing with in terms of on the football field, you would want Deshaun Watson over Tua Tagovailoa.
Too much of a distraction every week.
Yeah.
So
with that being said, the owners decided to stay with the GM and part ways with Brian Flores instead. So that's why they let him go.
I mean, that explanation does make sense, especially the Deshaun Watson thing. It's a pretty hot button issue. Obviously, I don't think you should play for any team until all this
everything is cleared up.
Gets cleared up, regardless of what the outcome is. So yeah, this one on the surface is pretty head scratching, but when you give that explanation, Carlos, it makes a little bit more sense as to why they decided to do that.
But for me, I think I would have gone with I would have gone with Brian Flores, just because, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Miami wasn't good until he showed up.
Yeah.
He has really turned this team around and has them going in the right direction. Sure, they kind of had they had an interesting season this year, obviously starting at 1-7 and then then going on the 7-game winning streak. But I mean, again, they only missed the playoffs by so much. They're right there. They're on the cusp.
Yep.
And I really credit that to
Flores.
But also another thing also that they mentioned was the fact that he constantly had a revolving door, like with his staff. Every year he had like a new offensive coordinator and all that
you
stuff.
Can't do that.
Yeah, that also kind of hurt him in the eyes of ownership, as as maybe possibly not having consistency. But really, I mean, they were right there. So this one also was head scratching to me. I would have stuck with Brian Flores and instead of firing him.
Yeah, I understand what you mean about the power struggle, and yes, that could be. I mean, that's a very good reason why somebody like the Dolphins would let go of Brian Flores. But yes, they should have kept him. They should have worked out their differences. They should have brought out their big boy pants and settled it like adults. For crying out loud, Brian Flores changed the culture for this Dolphins team in a way, and that just halts until you find a new head coach, and now he's going to rework that whole culture.
I mean, it just depends. It just depends on who they bring in. If they bring in, say, like a Jim Caldwell, I think they're going to be fine. You know, they just really have to find a guy that's like Brian Flores, who's going to continue the culture, and not bring in somebody like, you know, I mean, they wouldn't. They already went through the whole Adam Gase. You know, they were one of the Adam Gase teams already.
Big old Jim Harbaugh coming back.
No, it doesn't look like they're interested in Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah,
according to reports, they're not looking at him. Yeah. But like they're talking to like Dan Quinn. They want to talk to. I think they requested to talk to Kellen Moore too.
You're
but
probably thinking
again,
they can have Kellen Moore. So
go ahead, take him. Leave Dan alone. Leave Dan alone. But yeah, that to your point, that's what I would say to that is. If they can get if they get like a Jim Caldwell, a Doug Peterson, somebody who maybe Doug Peterson, I don't know, but
I think he's a decent coach.
Yeah, he's a decent coach. I'm saying culture wise, we don't know yet. Things in Philly kind of fell apart, but if they can get an adult, in the room who can continue the culture that Brian Flores started, I think they'll be okay.
Just don't hire Urban Meyer when you're talking about good culture. That's it. That's the only thing you cannot do. You cannot bring in Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Here's the next one. This gentleman is free to go to the circus to continue his clown show.
Yeah.
Joe Judge. We hardly knew ye. We hardly knew ye. I'm so glad thank you for all the easy wins. Never feared your team. You're full of crap about, players being like, oh, I want to be on this team. I want to be, I wish I was still on that team. Even though I'm making more money here, I wish I was still on your mediocre of a franchise. Joe Judge, you ran. I mean, I didn't think the Giants could go any lower than they were. You dropped them below the ground. They are in like perpetual, like, hell, basically.
Terrible.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, terrible. You only won 10 games in 2 seasons. Unbelievable. And then you whined and complained last year about, not winning the division, even though you won 6 games. And then you come into
the got pissed about that too. I remember that.
Oh yeah. Win more games and win the division. Stop being like, do what the Cowboys did this year, where we actually won 12 games, had a winning record to win. Okay, piss off, Joe Judge.
Sunday night, and then Dan had that rant that
I ranted. That. Oh, I ranted. I was pissed about that.
This was the right move by the Giants, but I still don't know what they're gonna do. They still have Daniel Jones to deal with.
They are a mess. Their franchise is a mess.
The one thing I don't like is the fact that Dave Gettleman retired.
Well, he should have been fired.
That was the indication that a lot of people had.
He should have. He was probably asked to retire out of respect, which I don't know.
According to rumors, he has been saying for weeks he was going to retire. But I think it's because he knew that if he didn't retire, they were going to fire him.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, the Giants are a complete mess, and Joe Judge is the leader of the circus with this team. I mean, you pretty much said it. Yeah, and he really lost his job. I mean, he was going to lose it anyway, most likely. When on a 3rd and goal, you run a
no, not a 3rd and goal. It was like a third and 9 from like their 4-yard line, and ran a quarterback sneak with Jake Fromm, who's not a running quarterback.
Yeah, that's the final straw for sure for him. I mean. And the fact that he's been criticizing other teams, like we heard him kind of make digs at Washington this season
and then,
a couple times.
And then being a coward and avoid talking to Washington media at all. Yeah. One more thing, and then one more thing. Just also, I mean, the fact that now Giants games are just like not even like a go-to event anymore. Like the cheapest ticket you could get apparently on Sunday for that Washington Giants game was $6. $6
in New Jersey. Yeah,
insane.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And the stadium was bare in that game. If you saw the crowd shots, there were so many empty sections.
Listen, New York, the Giants are getting to the point where they can't fill their stadium, but for Washington, they can fill their stadium with opposing fans. So
even opposing fans don't want to go to the Giants game.
I know.
At least never mind. I was gonna make it dig at FedEx again, but I'm not. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry.
I mean, FedEx is a dump. I mean, at least MetLife is newer, but from what I hear, is MetLife is also a nightmare to get to. But
it is.
That's besides the point. One more to go. Let's bring an adult to Chicago.
I have nothing to say.
Bring Brian Flores to Chicago.
This is such.
Yes, bring Brian Flores.
The people saw coming at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming.
He lost the locker room a long time ago.
He did.
And
I mean, aside from the one good season they had his first year where he won Coach of the Year, people don't remember that he was Coach of the Year, right? that 12-4 year, the double doink year. The double doink. Yeah, he just never really. You know, he just. I mean, they made the playoffs last season, but I mean, they really didn't deserve to.
Yeah, they kind of got lucky.
And you know, the Mitch Trubisky experiment failed, and then he just wasn't the guy to lead to guide Justin Fields, and that's why I feel like Brian Flores would be a better option. But Brian Flores isn't really an auto, but I just feel like it would be a smarter.
Oh, he froze up.
Did I cut out? Did I cut out?
A little bit, but you're back.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, I was done with my point. I just said, yeah.
I think we're done with that. That's all the
we are done. We are done. One more thing we will give you the Super Wild Card Weekend.
Super Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah. Super Wild Card Weekend matchups. That is coming up next.
Hey there, this is Mark Francis of Icon Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs in the Winchester surrounding area, including West Virginia, give me a call. I've got extensive experience, been in the business for almost 20 years, and would love to help you out. Track me down at Icon Real Estate, iconsells.com, or even give me a call, 540-247-1527. Again, Icon Sells, ICONSELLS.com. And I would love to chat with you and help you out. Give me a call.
All right. I'm back with the boys, the Kirby on Sports podcast. Super Wild Card Weekend is a
Super Wild Card Weekend.
Every time.
Here's an idea. We're going to run through these quickly. We're going to give you the matchups and we'll pick who wins and why. How about that?
Okay, let's do it.
Short and sweet. Let's do it.
Short and sweet. Saturday, starting off 4:30, 8:15, 4:30, the Raiders and the Bengals. Who wins and why?
Bengals, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase are just going to be too much for this Raiders defense. Well, I mean, Crosby's going to get his licks at Joe Burrow. For sure.
I agree with that. I think that's a good pick.
I'll take the Raiders.
Okay.
I think the Raiders will have enough drive to win at least one playoff game.
I like that pick. I mean, honestly, this is one of those games I could pick either.
It's a 50-50 matchup, in my opinion.
I could pick either.
If the Bengals win, this is not a Marvin Lewis Ram Bengals team who always loses in the wild card.
It's their first playoff win in like 30 years, over 30 years.
Yeah, they could finally, because the Bengals narrative with Marvin Lewis in the playoffs out the wild card.
Guys, if the Bengals win, this will be the first time that the Bengals have won a playoff game since texting was invented.
That's the text message, yeah.
I saw that. I was like, unbelievable.
8:15 on Saturday, Patriots and Bills.
Give me the Bills. I just think they're a team that's equipped to make a deep run into the playoffs, and Josh Allen and company will be ready to go. And Mac Jones, his inexperience in these types of situations, I think it's going to show in this game. And Buffalo's been there in the last 3 to 4 years.
Give me the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to win.
Okay,
I think
good
Bill
pick.
Belichick is going to turn this, or is going to ultimately win the series 2-1. He's going to win the trilogy fight here. I just think it's just Bill Belichick's, experience in these in the playoffs. I think he just turns it up another level like Tom Brady does.
I like how I said don't count out the Patriots like 15 minutes ago.
And then you count out the Patriots. It's fine. It's fine. I'm the one who's going to give him a shot.
That's right. At
Give me the
least we're not
Bills.
putting real money down on this. Thank God.
Give me the Bills.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm writing all these down, by the way, because I'm going to make
Okay.
a graphic later.
Okay,
Oh
cool.
boy.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you for doing that. 1:00 on Sunday, Eagles, Buccaneers.
Oh,
Come
that's
on.
easy. Give me the Bucks.
Yeah, give me the Bucks.
I was
Tom
like,
Brady.
What the heck are you doing for, Dan? Give me
Because
the
I had to register what you said. I didn't register it immediately.
Yeah, give me the
Okay.
Bucks. Yeah, there's no way the
We're all going
Eagles.
to pick the Bucks. That's
Yeah.
an easy pick.
I don't think that. I mean, there's always the puncher's chance that the Eagles somehow pull the upset, but I don't see it happening.
4:30 on Sunday, the 49ers and the Cowboys.
I'm going to piss Carlos off, but I'm taking the Niners. I am. Dallas, I don't know. I feel like the 49ers are peaking at the right time. I'm not saying they're going to make a deep run to the playoffs, but they've impressed me recently, and yeah.
Well, you
Sorry,
know what,
Carlos.
Dan? I think I'm going to have to completely disagree with you. The Dallas Cowboys are going to win this game. It's going to be close. It's not going to be an easy win by no means. I think the 49ers are scary, or honestly, I think they're the one team that scares me compared to our 3 potential opponents in the Cardinals, the Rams, the 49ers. I was most scared to face this 49ers team just because of how hot they are right now.
Mhm.
And the running game is absolutely terrifying. But I think ultimately our defense is going to be able to make the stops that we need to make to do. And also we have a day's rest advantage on San Francisco because we played on Saturday, they played on Sunday. They just also
Good
played
point.
an overtime game.
Good
So
point.
we're going to be better rested. We actually pulled our starters out of the game against Philly. So we have the rest advantage. We've had a day of preparation because I figured we probably knew who we were going to face. So yeah, I'm going to go give me Dallas, and I think it's going to be a big day for Dak and Amari Cooper.
All right. I like that. I think it's a good pick.
I think the 49ers edge Dallas in overtime.
Of course you do. So I'm the only one going with Dallas.
No, I'm not
Unbelievable.
saying they're going to smash Dallas out of the water.
Unbelievable.
All right, whatever. 8:15, the Steelers and the Chiefs.
Easy pick. Chiefs.
Go on.
Chiefs.
Chiefs by 3 possessions.
Sorry, Big Ben.
I'm not. Sorry,
boys.
hell of a career, but it's got to end
We're having
sometime.
some more technical difficulties over here. We're talking about 49ers. I'm sorry, not 49ers. We're talking Steelers, Chiefs. Yeah,
Steelers,
give me the
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Come on. We already know where I'm going with this.
Easy pick. That's the easiest
And
pick on this list.
For the first time ever, Wild Card Weekend will end on Monday.
Super wild card. Did we all pick the Chiefs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And-
Super wild card weekend.
Ends on Monday night on ESPN, the Cardinals and the Rams.
Yeah, give me the Rams in this. They have too many weapons. The Cardinals defense is not going to be able to stop them consistently, and yeah, the Cardinals
Give
have
me the
been
Rams.
the
Give me
Cardinals
the
have been too up
Cardinals.
and down. You're picking the
think-
Cardinals.
I'm picking the Cardinals. I think they're going to turn it on for this game. I think it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be like the last time they were in Los Angeles, but I think give me the Cardinals. But it's going to be like a 1 touchdown or a field goal game. It's going to be close.
Those are our picks.
Wait, who did you say, Kirby?
Give me the Rams.
Why?
Because I think the Rams are going to learn from their mistakes after this game against the 49ers. They're going to come out and play a complete football game.
Cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cooper Cup.
So
I got the list right here. If it'll focus, I got it right there. I'm gonna make a graphic later, and then we'll see who holds out,
who gets roasted and who doesn't. Yeah.
All right.
Who's gonna have the best picks and who's not? It seems like I'm about the only one. Honestly, Kirby and Dan picked the same teams.
But me and Dan are so much alike.
That's because Kirby followed me up. I was the first one to pick him, and then he was like, "You know what? That Dan guy knows what he's talking."
And when I'm right, and I go 100 and I bet 100, bet 1,000. I'm sorry, and I bet 1,000, and you guys, fail.
You won't.
I'm gonna come on this back. No, I will, but I will though. You won't.
Hey,
it's fine. It's fine. I will.
Remember when you told Dan Indianapolis was going to win? Remember that one?
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago.
But so did the rest. But so did the rest of the world. The rest of the world figured that Indianapolis was going to win.
There was a couple people, I'm sure, that were with me, but
not
many.
Hey, listen. Before we wrap up this live, I fully intended that we were probably going to go this long because number one, it's week 18. Number two, head coach is firing. And number three, picking the games for this wild card. So
Super wild card weekend.
Man, that's hilarious. But I appreciate you two sticking with me as we make history here on the Kirby on Sports podcast as our very first live podcast is coming to a close.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I can't wait to do this again. And yeah, you guys make it fun every time, whether it's pre-recorded or whether we do it live.
Absolutely,
we'll do it live, and we did this live, and I think it turned out pretty well. I'm excited.
Went out without a hitch. We'll add some more elements to it as we get closer to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
some
graphics here and there.
All great stuff. Once again, thank you for tuning in. If you're listening live, that's the weapon Dan Demski. The Swiss Army knife Carlos Martinez is right below me. We appreciate you sticking with us during this live stream. And if you're listening to this pre-recorded, you can find this on all streaming platforms as well after the conclusion of the live stream. Give us a 5-star review and give us a 5-star rating and a review. Dan loves reading them. 5-star rating,
Apple Podcast,
like, comment,
and on Spotify now. You can do it on Spotify too.
And Spotify as well.
Yeah,
do it for us
everywhere.
I do like rating them. I do.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So we do appreciate it. That is all the time we have for this edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Thank you to Patrick Bankemper and Trumbull Insurance Agency, the rest of our sponsors, Regroup Building Services, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, and Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate. Check us out on all streaming platforms, social media platforms, and KirbyOnSports.com. For Dan, Carlos, I'm Josh. Until the next time you see us or you hear us, always remember to create greatness. So long and peace.